Every day that I have the opportunity to serve you and to be able to do good on behalf of the people of this state is a privilege, and I'm very honored to be able to be here. Now today, by the way, I don't know if you knew this, was Take Your Child to Work Day. And so just a side note, we were going to bring them here. I had this big discussion, but they had something going on at school, and they didn't want to miss it. But as we were driving in here, we were thinking about it. We're going to pass Cold Cow. And I was like, wait a minute, if they knew that, they would definitely have wanted to skip school to come with us to work today. So, but it's good to be back home, too, because as we're driving around and, we have a lot of good memories here. Heck, we probably knocked on a lot of your doors back in the day. And just, it's good to be back. So, I just wanted to say this. I think there's kind of like a misunderstanding or just a misunderstanding, I guess, is the best way to say it, about what Hope Florida is. Hope Florida is not a program. Hope Florida is an idea. Hope Florida is a philosophy. It is, how can we help people in need and do better legitimately? It's not about just giving somebody a check and hoping it goes well and we'll see you later and this is what you're entitled to and that's the end of the story. What we've tried to do is to really re-engineer, rethink the way that we can help somebody, to help guide them on a pathway to economic self-sufficiency, to help them on a pathway ultimately to happiness. Because I know a lot of people in this room, it hurts your soul if you see somebody suffering and you know that you can do something about it, that you can lend them a helping hand. I mean, I've seen people on the side of the road and I think to myself, there is something that can be done. There is no reason, if they do not want to be there, that they should be there. So how do we legitimately help people? And this really emanated from talking to a lot of people all across the state about how can we do better, not going into it with a preconceived notion of, oh, we know how to do this, we're government, we'll figure it out. No, government's the problem, right? You're the solution. So how do we then leverage government to be able to help the people across the state and leverage the resources that the governor mentioned are already existing in society? Well, the idea came from you going around and talking to key stakeholders, whether it was the faith-based community, whether it's the nonprofits, whether it's the private sector, local government, state government. And when you go and talk to key people who are in the fight, you find something becomes very clear, and that is it's all siloed. There are good things happening, but there's little communication and collaboration to be able to help good people in need of help. There are good people who are willing to help. The question is can you make the connection? And so you saw that. So then we internalized that and we said, okay, because of the late 1960s and the way that people who were vulnerable came into government to get assistance, we said, okay, well, because we're government and the most vulnerable people are coming in to get help, we're uniquely positioned to be able to make a connection now with people who need help to go back to the community where they had always been, really from the beginning, right? The community is always the one that's the key player to make a difference, not government. So now we're able to get them back in a meaningful way back into the community to get help. So how do we do that? What is this process, this pathway to self-sufficiency, the pathway to prosperity, a pathway to purpose? What does this all start with? Well, it's a couple of things. One, it's a number. You call a number 833-GET-HOPE, and you can talk to a human. How novel is that, by the way, to be able to talk to a human? It's like you want to be able to just, especially if you're suffering, to be able to have that human-to-human relation, to be able to put your guard down for a second, to say, I'm struggling and I need help, and here's what I need help with. The other thing that we do is we take a proactive approach to this, which is also pretty novel for government, which I think is great. If we see you're on government assistance, how about this? How about we call you? And the navigators will say something as simple as, hey, I see that you're in need of help. What's going on? How can we help? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And imagine what that does to somebody's soul to think, man, you're taking an interest in me. You want to see what I have the potential to do. You want to be able to walk with me, to be able to help me get on this pathway. So that's very special. We also take a unique approach, as he mentioned, with the sheriff's deputies, all 67. That's impactful because, as what he said, you have our deputies who are on the front lines and they see a lot of suffering. But sometimes they don't know where to go and they don't know where to turn. And they might know of one or two nonprofits, but maybe if they get into this the Hope Florida initiative, They can understand there's a lot more. Hey, call this number, or let me let you talk to somebody who's involved in this, and they're going to help you. You know, our CPIs, our Child Protective Investigators. So, you know, prior to the governor being elected, they would be going out, they would be investigating child abuse and neglect. If they didn't see any reason to take a child from the household, a lot of times prior to him, that's where the story would end. But they would see that they needed help, that there were problems there. So how about now reach out to a Hope Florida navigator and start to get in front of it? And how about this? How about we keep people out of government? How about we prevent people from having to go into a potential culture of dependency? How about we help them communicate with the communities so that way they can start to see their God-given potential. They can start to see the pathway. They can see that there are skills out there that they can acquire through all of the things the governor's done: vocational, technical, rapid credentialing, paid apprenticeships, all of our colleges. We even have Hope liaisons in all of our 28 colleges across the state. Now they can start to see it, and then they can start to see, and it doesn't happen overnight. Pathway to economic self-sufficiency is going to take a minute, but now you can start to see that there are jobs available to meet the skills, and it all becomes clear. And you have that one navigator who's holding their hand, because again, it goes back to what I said earlier. A lot of people who are calling, who want to admit that they're suffering and need help, don't want to have to tell their stories 18,000 times to 18 different people, to 18 different bureaucracies, only to have to keep sticky notes on the refrigerator door to figure out who did I talk to. It's hard. And you're struggling, and you're suffering. You're trying to keep a job. You're trying to put food on the table. There's a lot of opportunity out there within the community. You need that navigator to be able to hold your hand, to take on the burden, and to help navigate all of the different entities that are out there. What else I'm very proud of, that we're the first state in the nation to do, is to embrace the faith-based community in a meaningful way. And that is a game changer. And I would recommend every state across the United States to do the same. And here's why. We have 16.5 million people of faith across the state of Florida, 20,000 institutions of faith. They've always been there ready and willing to help, but they never knew some of these people were over here suffering in need of help. So now government has become a communicator and a collaborator with the churches, which is huge. He mentioned the care portal technology. That's really the connective tissue that we use. So as our navigators are working, as they talk to somebody, right, who's in need of help, let's say they're talking to a single mom, and that mom's going through a list of things that she might need help with. There are nonprofits, right? We're going through a Rolodex of all of the nonprofits that are available to be able to meet those needs. But then we take it one step further. We go to our churches, and we use something called the care portal technology, which is really fantastic. So you have the navigator saying, okay, I see you're having a hard time. Like, this is a true story, actually. There was a mom who had a broken refrigerator, and she was really struggling to keep food fresh in the house and didn't know what to do. So the navigator put into the care portal request an electronic alert to all of the participating faith-based organizations saying, can you help this mom? ? Within minutes, it was met. And the church literally delivered everything to her front doorstep. Fresh cooked meals, lasagna, whatever. Imagine what that does. The church and good people in the community now realize that mom needs help and she's suffering. An unbelievable connection with so many layers that I couldn't even sit up here and articulate to you just happened because you have good people who wanted to help, good people in need of help, and now they're together. And that does so much, not only to put food in the refrigerator and to get a new refrigerator, which they ended up doing, it does so much for their soul. And you know what it provided? Hope. That's what this is all about. It's about hope.